Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Well, the Wellbeing Science Insights Podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We're champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Lu Ngo, coming to your ears from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's learn together. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Doing Well. And on this week's episode, we are going to talk about aligning your career with your purpose, finding meaningful work for a fulfilling life. And actually, to be very honest, this is our second take. The first take wasn't so successful because of internet issue, but I'm glad that we can make this happen. And so I'm really glad to have Ananda Zhafira here with us today to talk about the topic. Ananda is a psychologist, career coach, and trainer with more than 6 years experience in education, learning, and training. She has experience in crafting and delivering learning programs, facilitating young people to find their purpose through career counseling, and developing psychological assessment. Her purpose is to help others discover meaning through their career. Thank you so much for joining us again today, Ananda.
Thank you, Lu. How are you?
Yeah, I am good. Actually, I don't know why, but I am a little bit hungry, to be honest. It's really strange. Like sometimes you're just engrossed in a task, and then the next thing you know is you're hungry. But I guess that is kind of like the feeling that we want to be feeling when we're engrossed in something that we are passionate about, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's today's topic, actually. So I think the more I think about career and meaningful work, the more I realize that if I'm so focused and engrossed in the task and I have fun, by the time I know it, I'm hungry again. It's kind of like that feeling of fulfillment and the hunger for more, perhaps not food, but more meaningful work. And so today we're going to talk about that. And I think it's really interesting because I remember last time when we talked, I vaguely remember you mentioned something about product development or product management as a past career or something that you did before that. And because we're talking about meaningful career today, I would love to hear more from you. How did you get here and why did you choose to do the work that you're doing now?
Okay. So maybe I will like to introduce myself first based on what Lu have said before. So basically, I'm a psychologist and also a trainer and a career coach. So before I become a psychologist, I work a lot in technological company, especially in edtech or educational technology. As in a product development team. And basically what the product is about learning and then training for young adults. That's why I think it's very relevant to what I'm doing now. And it motivates me to pursue a career as a psychologist because basically what I'm doing is to help people to discover their purpose through career they wanna to. Yeah, so I think that's why it's is a very exciting journey also for me to discover what am I gonna do today and maybe for the rest of my life. And it's such a big discovery for me also to find out that I want to be and I want to work for this career.
Yeah. And how did you feel when you finally discovered that? Because, it was not something that came to you overnight. It was a whole process, right?
Yes, that's right.
So how did you feel?
I think that it was a long journey too for me because I take like maybe almost a year to discover everything by talking to a fellow psychologist, which is someone who I look up to. And then I also talk a lot with many people that I trust and can give me some objective feedback towards my potentials, and then what can I improve from myself. That's why it's very interesting also because during that moment, during that year, especially, it was last year where I discovered a lot about myself. And that's why I finally arrived in the decision that, okay, I want to pursue a career as a psychologist and to be an expert in terms of career counseling and also career advancements for adults. It's a long journey, but I think this self-discovery journey is a never-ending one. So I think that's why was just a beginning. So my discovery and the whole process has just started. And I hope that through this podcast, I can share a lot from my experience and what we can do to leverage the journey of self-discovery.
Beautiful. Well, I'm excited to discuss it with you. And, I'm sure we'll learn a lot of wonderful things today.
Sure.
I think career is such a big deal because I learned today that we spend about 80,000 to 90,000 hours in our lives working. And I think that's just the average. So some people might work even more than that. So to choose something meaningful that we can feel excited about every day is no easy feat. And for some people, it takes so much longer than others. Even for me at the moment, talking to you, I enjoy doing these podcasts. But I also don't know what else I want to do in my life. And that's a question that I've been asking myself. So I'm hoping to seek some guidance today. And I'm sure our audience would be interested in finding out more about how they can uncover that for themselves. Before we go into today's topic, let's get to know you a bit better. This part is called Have You Met Ananda? I'm going to get some of your recommendations and some of your favorite things so we can get to know about you a bit more. First question, what is a book you would recommend?
Okay, so I think I read a lot of books regarding self-improvement and psychology, but a book that I think can shift my whole perspective is The Defining Decade. So The Defining Decade is a book which talk about how the age of 20s and the people who are in the age of 20s has a lot of in their plate to make decisions, and then they have to establish a career, make some money, establish even a family, building a relationship, achieve here and there. So it seems like a lot during someone's 20s. But actually, the books has shifted a lot my paradigm because I think through the book I understand that it should not be done like in this whole 20 until 30. So I think that in 10 years, someone could make a lot of decisions, but actually it doesn't have to be achieved during before 30, right? So because maybe we all read about how to become a successful CEO before 30 years old, and then how to raise money for like $1,000 and $1 million before 30. So that's a lot of news and media talk about how to be something before 30. But no one talks about how actually life after 30 will be more exciting than life when we are in our 20s. Because I also talk about people who are already in their 30s and then even on their 40s, and they say that actually they enjoy life more when they are older rather than when they are younger in their 20s. So many young adults in their 20s has a lot of things that they are worried about. Either it's career, either it's money, either it's relationships, even it's their own health. So basically what we can do during our 20s based on the book is to cherish everything that we have in the present and make the most of it. It doesn't mean that we have to achieve everything during our 20s, but we just have to did our best during these years and trying to optimize every opportunity, but don't need to stress a lot about it. Yeah. That's a very interesting book, and I also recommend many of my friends to read about that book, especially for them who has going through such quarter life crisis. So I think it's a very helpful.
Yeah, I love the defining decade. I found out about it after watching Meg J's TED Talk, and
Mhm.
I just, I just feel like there's so much more that it can cover, obviously, but the key idea that you just shared, I think a lot of people in their 20s, like myself, need to hear and to cherish the journey, but to know that, things change and you do you do grow and you do feel more comfortable in your own skin and you do discover things as you go. And, the not knowing part is also the fun part. It can be uncomfortable, especially when it comes to our career, right? Some days I'm kind of like, I want to figure out what it is that I want to do right now, but I also kind of enjoy where I am. So I guess, the enjoying, the not knowing is also fun. So we'll talk a bit more about that. That is so on topic. And thank you for recommending that to our audience. How about a movie you would recommend?
Okay, a movie. This is gonna be a long list because I think I have a lot of movie that I recommend. But my favorite one, I think the old movie that I love and it has a lot of meaning is Forrest Gump. So like everyone knows this movie. And then maybe the popular movie, and I think it's quiet like an existential movie. Yeah, you know Barbie, right? So Barbie the movie, I think it's like beyond my expectations about what uh, a Barbie doll can do, and I think it says a lot not only about career but also about life in general because it makes us questions our purpose and basically our existence, what kind of things that we want to do in life, and it make me think a lot even until now the movie like has go off the screen in cinemas.
Yeah, a lot of our guests have talked about Barbie on this show and on the other show that I host, which is about happiness. And I think it's such a great movie, really well done. And, in the last part, when the song What Was I Made For started playing, I sort of cried a little bit. I hadn't cried in
Yeah.
a very long time. It's
Yes.
such a great message because I feel like we're all Barbies in our own right. I guess if you really think about it, like we can relate to it to a certain extent. We're supposed to be this and that, but at our core, what are we made for? That's a really good question, right? Especially career wise. Barbie even had that question for herself. Okay, so what do I want to do? I don't know. And yeah, so we'll figure out that hopefully, or some secrets about that, or not even secrets, just things that we should know in this conversation. Now, you're our podcast guest today. I'm not sure if you're a fan of podcast, and if you are, which one would you recommend?
Hmm. So I think I've been lately listening to it's actually a local podcast. So the host and some of the guests is from Indonesia. So, but I think in YouTube they have English subtitles. So if you are interested, you can browse and Spotify or in YouTube. It's called 30 Days of Lunch, and the
Mm-hmm.
second one is Endgame. So the first is 30 Days of Lunch, basically hosted by two entrepreneurs who love to talk about self-development, finance, creativity, and it's like everything in between. And they invited a lot of guests coming from various backgrounds, from doctors, from mindfulness practitioner, nutritionists, a businessman, and a music artist. So I think they have like many ranges of topics that you can browse and listen according to your interest and what do you want to look for. And then the second one is Endgame. So Endgame is hosted by a former, he's an economist and he's also an educator named Gita Wiryawan. So he's a very famous um, figure, public figure in Indonesia, especially in terms of politics and also educations. He invited a lot of guests from athletes, musicians, artists, and even CEOs. So it's a very interesting story because basically the title of the podcast is Endgame. So by the end of the podcast, he always asks people, so what is actually your end game? So maybe if you watch like Marvel movies, Endgame. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, ma- it talk about like what is our final purpose, right? So Endgame is actually, if you want to translate it or define it, it's like what is your final purpose in life. So basically, it talks about that, and it talks about other people creation. It's so great, I think, and it's very insightful podcast I've been listened to. So I think that's a lot of podcasts uh that might be could be inspire us, but that two podcasts is my favorites.
Yeah, really cool recommendations. Thank you so much. And who would be your role model? Now, I know we said famous, but
Mhm.
disclaimer is it doesn't have to be a famous person. It could be, someone that you know in your life, someone in your wider circles, or someone you've worked with.
So my role model. So I think she's a psychologist too. She's a psychologist, and she is also someone who make a lot of creations in educational fields. Her name is Najila Shihab. Maybe she's a very famous public figure in Indonesia because she was created a lot of communities and also startups and also innovations in education. And I think she's also a role model to many people, especially young women, and for me myself also.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Final question in this part is about learning. What is a course you've completed that left a really strong impact on you?
Okay, so I think this course is was gonna very related with our topic today. It's the science of well-being. So I think maybe everyone has also took this course. It's actually a free course from Yale. It's basically talking about what is the scientific explanations about how to maintain our well-being and what can be cause of negative or bad well-being. And it's also talk about the scientific new research and updates about how to improve our well-being in terms of many aspects in our life. You can call it family, you can call it work, you can call it health and social life. So yeah, it's a very interesting course. I think uh, everyone could take it. So you don't need to have a psychology background or a counseling background because it was a very practical uh, practice that you can apply in your daily lives because they have like log books or
Yeah.
workbooks, and you can download it and you can like fill it anytime you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually taken the course myself. I really love it. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. Also, really on topic for our well-being show as well. Now, let's talk about today's topic. It's finally here. Let's talk about career, purpose, and meaningful work and meaningful life. There's so much that we can discover in this part because I think, even if someone hasn't started their career, they can learn a few things from you, especially because you do career counseling. Now, because the show is about well-being, let's talk about your definition of well-being so we can understand, the big context of why we need to learn more about career and focus on our career so much. So, what does well-being mean to you personally?
So I think well-being means is when we are can integrate all aspects in our lives, and we can find our purpose through the smallest thing that we can do. So many people say that well-being, that we have to be such a very healthy and stress-free person. Basically, it's not possible because every day we could face daily stress. We face traffic, we meet like people annoying on the street while driving. So it could be like anywhere. Stressful events could be happen anywhere. But basically, well-being is not a stress-free life for me. Well-being is when we can cope healthily through our days and every challenges that we face in our life. We can cope with it and find meaning through, even if it's the negative feelings or challenges in our life.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that because it's not always about having things figured out or having everything working perfectly. It's in fact it's not that. It's the opposite. I think for me personally, I've learned that when everything is going well, normally, most of the time, you would say my sense of well being is great. But then in times of distress, in times of stress, or, just any kind of discomfort at all, um, if we can navigate through the challenges and work on our well-being, that shows, the true meaning of well-being. That's actually, when we know how we can handle different things, difficult things, or just even carry on in our life with grace. It's actually really hard because, when you're going through a tough period, you tend to kind of like, neglect certain aspects of your well-being. And I think to have the non-negotiables and to be able to work on all the different aspects of well-being, even when you're not feeling great, is actually not easy to achieve and also really important to do. And careers is one of those things too, because we have ups and downs in our careers, right? So I'm sure everyone can
Yeah.
relate to this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you mentioned, well-being is, there are so many different aspects of well-being. I sort of mentioned what I observe when it comes to well-being. It's not always about, having everything figured out. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people probably have when it comes to well-being. Like, you got to have everything figured out. Everything needs to be well for you to have a sense of well-being. Now, I know today's topic is kind of on the career, area. I'm wondering what you think to be some of the misconceptions that people have about well-being. Maybe it could be related to our career. Maybe it could be related to our purpose in life, which is the anchor of today's conversation, or it could be about something else entirely that you probably haven't mentioned.
Okay. So I think a lot of a popular misconceptions that I usually hear or read from people in social media, that they say that if we do something that we love to do, we could not be tired of it, or we just going we can go through it. Basically, we can also be tired and exhausted from anything that, even if we say or claim that it was our passion or something that we enjoy about. So I think that made why a lot of people could become a burnout person, because they keep saying that this is what I like to do, this is what I love to do, this is my passion, I should not be tired of doing this. So they could not take rest, and they don't have boundaries between what they are going to, when they are going to rest and when they are going to work or make some creations, right? So I think that's a lot of that's a problem for some people, especially if they have such a guilty feeling when they don't feel like they're productive enough, and I think it brings more harm than good for someone's well-being. So I think that's a very common misconceptions about well-being, that we have to constantly put ourselves under stress, even if because we love that. So yeah, so it's like we are being gaslighted for being tired or exhausted for we what we can or we claim to like. Yes. So I think that's a very I also a toxic concepts that especially in for young people. For young people, we ask to like work very hard, but if we are prioritize our mental health, so it means that it was wrong, or it was we don't work hard enough when we don't break. Yes. So I heard a lot of things, a lot of my friends being in that culture of work, and it's very unhealthy actually. But yeah, it happens. And some people can only survive to get through, and because they want to survive in their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like you're talking to me, and you're talking to my colleagues and you're talking to my friends. Like a lot of people are going through this. And I think, for me, being burnt out is not a fun experience ever, but it shows a lot of different things. It shows that you care about the work that you're doing, which is important. It shows that there's probably a redirection coming for you because, if you're burnt out, even though you're doing the work that you think you love, that's not healthy. It's not sustainable for your well-being. And so maybe there's something there that you need
That's
to
right.
discover. You got to change the situation, or change yourself, or change the environment. And that's how we discover different aspects and different paths in our career, right? I hear stories about burnouts all the time, and that is such a
Yeah.
big misconception in well-being. Like, if you're burning yourself out, you're doing a good job. No, not really. I think no one needs to burn themselves out just to
Yeah.
gain a sense of who they are and what their well-being means. And career is I think it's a kind of like a big word because it covers a lot of different things. Our career can last, how many years now? I think we could potentially stay in the workforce for
20
40,
years, yeah, even 30
even
years,
40 years. I know a
40
lot of
years.
people. Yeah, I know a lot of people work 40 years and they have a 40 years experience in their career. And some people choose to retire earlier. And, while some people work until their dying days, pretty much. For example, my grandpa, he worked until he was in his 80s. So basically his career was 60 years long. It is a long time, and so we need to define career then, because if we're talking about it, it's not just the one job or the few jobs that we are going to do. It's a whole pathway. So what does career actually mean?
Yeah, it's a very complicated questions when we are going to talk about career, because like I want to have a career in consulting. I want to have a career in finance. I want to have a career in technology. I want to have a career in education. So I want to have career in food and beverage. So it was like everyone said that I want to have a career, not like I want to have a job. Yeah. So job and career are different things. When we talk about career, it includes our educations. It includes our whole journey of self-discovery. It's basically not only when we are working or employed in some place, but it's actually a whole journey. A whole journey when we are making something, when we are doing something productive. I think that's career. Even if when we are still in schools, even if we are taking courses, even if when we are having some career break, it's actually a career too. So I think that's why career, it's not something that is so narrow or like job which means that when we are employed by some employers or an organizations. So career is actually the whole journey of someone where we find ourselves and we find our purpose and we do something that actually could contribute something. Not it doesn't have to be something that huge, that impactful for the whole world or even the whole society, but even if the smallest thing. Yeah, so I think that's what we can call as career.
All right. So we have established that career is, a whole journey in itself. It's not just a job here, a job there, a few jobs that you do, or, the sum of all the jobs that you're doing. It's like a whole journey of self-discovery. There might be breaks or, for some people, even career changes, massive
Yes,
ones.
career switching. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot to be discussed there because a lot can happen in 1 year, let alone 20 years or 40 years, right? There's so much that we can discover and do in this life. So this sense of purpose in life, as I understand, is something that a psychologist called Carol D. Riff established in the 42 items psychological well-being scale, which measures 6 aspects of well-being and happiness. And so, purpose in life is actually, one of those factors. And it's, like very high up on the hierarchy of those factors. So what does purpose in life actually mean? Because, it's a very big term. It sounds like this ideal destination that we kind of have to get to in life. So how do you define it?
Okay. So I think purpose in life is something which is very personal. One people can define it as something that they want to achieve in their career, or something that they want to create in their life. So, for example, someone who have a purpose to make children have a better experience in learning. Yes. So, for example, is that. So, it could be anything. It could be any job, actually. But if we can conclude that if she or he wants to have or make a beautiful or exciting learning experience for children, it could be like when they are become a teacher, or they become a psychologist, or they become a counselor, or they even become they have their own schools, or even when they are, it could be like anything, or even when they have their own child, right? So I think purpose in life is something that could be very personal, and it depends on how people view their what kind of change they wanna see in their surroundings. It doesn't have to be like they impact the whole world or the whole nations, but it could be like starting from their own surroundings, even from their family. So when someone said that my purpose is to help children to have their best experience in their life, it could be like their children or their nephews or their nieces, and it could be like from the closest one. So when someone said that purpose in life should be for greater good or for bigger society, so I don't think that is. I don't think it should be like for something that life changing for everyone. It could be like something very personal, even for the person who has that purpose, right? So I think that's also the misconception of purpose, that it should be grand, something that grandeur. But I don't think so. Purpose could be anything that you want to be it, or you want to do for yourself, or you want to do for others around you. It could be like the smallest thing in our life that could bring a positive experience for ourselves and maybe for other people around us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think for a lot of people, it's nothing that big, or it's nothing that is going to save the world per se. For some people, I've heard, their purpose could simply be as, I want to be a good partner and a good
Yes,
mother.
that's right.
That's my purpose in life. And so, if they want to be a good partner and a good mother to their children, that sometimes means that, career is not that high up on the top of their list of things that they really want to prioritize, or, they don't need it to be something of such high importance. Maybe to them, it's simply to find a stable job that allows them to have the time to actually be there for their family. I think, for example, for my mom, it's probably the case, because she's been staying in one job her whole career, because she's a homemaker, like she really values family and family time. And so for her, that job and that career has been, fulfilling in that sense. And I'm sure there would be so many more stories out there that kind of, illustrate the similar aspects of purpose in life. So when we talk about, aligning our career with our purpose in life, how does that actually help with our well-being?
So I think purpose. So basically, people think that career is something that they are going to do that for like many years, and it took like almost maybe a half of our day, or maybe like more than a half of our weeks, because some people like work more than 40 hours, right? So basically when we are trying to align our purpose and our career, we are going to make such a big difference in our well-being, because we feel that every single thing that we did in work are going to serve our purpose. It means that everything that we do is going to serve our purpose, and it means that we are going to be more fulfilled with life, and basically it could impact our life satisfactions in general. So that's why improving well-beings through aligning our purpose with our career could impact a lot on our well-being and mental health.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially since you do this for most of your day, most
Yes.
of the week as well. If you are, on a career path that is not aligned with what you would like to do in life, there will be a sense of imbalance. I think this applies to a lot of people, not just myself, but that's how I feel. Like if it's not something that you truly want to do, you just kind of start questioning, what am I doing? And, in fact, I remember, this is like way back in the day, I just randomly fell into teaching. Not that I was trained to be a teacher or anything like that, but I randomly fell into teaching English. And then now that I reflect on that period of time, I realized I was running away from it whenever I didn't have to do it. So I would run away from it by, going to the cinema. Like if I don't have a class that I had to teach, then I would just like go to the cinema, watch a movie. And, any chance I get, I would travel. And, straight after class, I was just like run away, go somewhere and disappear and just not phase the professional development of that particular career path, because I realize now that if it had been my purpose to, impart my knowledge and, share my, understanding of the language, I do love it. But I probably don't love teaching it as much because I didn't feel the need to improve my skills there. And I feel like when we really pay attention to how we spend our time, we can kind of see what our purpose in life is, or even kind of see where it's heading. Because sometimes we can't really define it. And actually, the other day I was talking to another podcast guest. I actually don't remember if it was this show or the other show about happiness. I think it was this show actually, where we talked about unfollow your passion to find your purpose in life. It's not necessarily like something you have to be so passionate about, but maybe something that you're good at, something you do a lot, to kind of find that purpose in life. And finding it might take some time. It's not like you know it straight away, right? It can be really tricky for most of us. Now, I'm curious if you have some tips or things you can share with us, because in your bio you did say that your purpose is to help others discover meaning through their career. It has definitely taken you some time and some work to get here to know what your purpose is. And I know it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Maybe your purpose will change in the future even, who knows, right? But how can we start to get there? How can we start to find our purpose, or just go into the right direction so we can slowly discover what it is? Because I don't think we can discover it overnight.
Yes, that's very correct, right? So it doesn't have happen overnight, because I think I started to discover my purpose, or finally have an idea what I'm and having an idea of directions. It started like maybe like 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, it's when I, like a year after I graduated from college, and I actually love to talk to people to gain insight personally. I love to talk to people personally, so I can get their insights and their opinions about something. And that moment, actually, many of my friends trust me about their stories and then their journey of discovering something in their life, not only in terms of their career, even in their relationships and even in their other aspect of personal life. So that is why I think that this is something that I could enjoy, and this is something that I think can not be not only impactful for myself but also for others. And I started to also talk with some of my seniors, which already become a psychologist or maybe a coach or counselors, and I learned from them what kind of competencies or what it takes to become one. And I discovered that my strengths, and also by talking and gaining feedback from my coworkers and from my bosses at the time, that's where I turned into the point where, okay, I think I will give it a try to become someone who can help people to develop and discover themselves through counseling and also coaching. That's why I finally continue my master degree in psychology. It wasn't an easy journey actually, because during the pandemic, everything happens and everything changed, and I cannot meet someone in person, and it's very difficult actually to building rapport through virtual meetings when we are conducting a counseling sessions. But I also learned a lot through that, and I finally also talk about that with also a psychologist that I trust her a lot. So I think during your time or your moment when you are trying to discover something, it's very important to actually having someone who can give you an objective perspective about the job or the career you wanna go into. So I think that's why it's very important to have a career mentor. And maybe it's not someone that you like talk regularly, but if you want to ask for directions or you want to ask for guidance, you can talk to that certain people. So I think mentor is very important. And then the second one is when you are feeling stuck. So it's not that it always went smoothly during my discovery moment, but I also experienced a very difficult moment where I feel like I've been stuck for months. Not, I don't feel like I feel like demotivated for conducting a sessions, and I don't feel like want to meet my clients at the moment. That's the moment where I try to explore what kind of things that actually happens in myself. So by looking inward, so by discovering ourselves, it also means that we are trying to know what kind of limiting beliefs that we have, especially when at the moment when I say to myself, I think I cannot be a psychologist because I think I'm not good enough on regulating my emotions, or I'm not good enough as someone who can take care of other persons and can give someone's recommendations to what they want to do in their lives. And I after realizing that I have that sort of limiting beliefs, and actually that was negative self-talk. I talk to my people around me. I talk to my partner. I talk to some of my best friends, and I knew that, and I realized that was in my head. Actually, people don't think like that. After I gain feedbacks and I understand, I knew what to improve. Sometimes I think what can challenge us or can be challenge for us to reach our directions or finding that kind of directions is because we have that such limiting beliefs. We said that we can do this, we can do that. We are not good enough for doing this. We are too old for discovering something that we like. I think that is actually something might be a lot of people also struggling. So yes, that's one. Not as one size fits all, but maybe it could give you reference on how to navigate when you are feeling stuck with what you are doing right now, or you don't have any idea what kind of which road that or path you want to take, I think you should do some that things. First, getting a mentor, and then trying to spend your time to look inward in yourself, and then acknowledging your limiting beliefs.
Yeah, I think those are really good tips. And it doesn't just apply to career, actually. It applies to all different areas in life because when we talk about finding our version of purpose in life, it's not just about career. I believe it's so much more than that because when we talk about purpose in life, it could be, oh, I want to, empower people to do so and so, meaning, you can do this for a living, you can volunteer your time, you can also mention something along the line of, like I want to be a good daughter, like I want to, make sure my family has a comfortable life. So
Yes.
that could be, could be a definition that includes multiple aspects of life, including career. And it's actually quite hard because a lot of the times we kind of, not just that limiting belief that you were mentioning, but we probably lie to ourselves that, oh, I want to do this because this is what society is saying that is good. Everyone is an entrepreneur, everyone is a social media influencer, sort of thing. I know not everyone is, but just kind of to summarize,
Most of people.
most people are kind of saying like, like if you want to be successful, this is kind of what your life should look like. Like if you have a big house and if you travel all the time, that's that's a great life. Where it's actually quite different, I think, because someone asked me that question the other day. They're like, okay, what is your purpose in life? And I was like, well, I'm here to learn and enjoy. And they're like, you're lying. And I was like, why am I lying? I just told you. I'm here in this life to learn in as much as I can and to enjoy life as much as I can. Like that's at the moment my version of purpose in life, which might change, but it doesn't mean that I'm lying. Like I don't really want to do anything grand per se. But I do want to learn more about life. I think I have that curiosity and I think it's fascinating because there's so many things. And what if I just want to enjoy life? Like I just want to enjoy, every day, hanging out with friends, having coffee, reading books, petting my cats, very simple, mundane things. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just
Yes.
my version of it.
So basically, being different or having different purpose is not a bad thing in life, because sometimes like our society has standards that we have to achieve certain things to be in a happy state. But
Yep.
I think I was there actually. I was in the moment when I think that I should become someone that I desired, or maybe the society expected me to be in order to become happy. But actually, we can be happy right now. We can be like happy anytime we want. So it doesn't have to be like when we are reaching or achieve something. But even if when we are feeling happy with what all we have, I think we can be happy for that and
Yeah.
feeling enough.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is a beautiful thing to acknowledge. When I was growing up, I was kind of saying to myself, "Oh, I want to leave a strong impact on this world," uh, and I still do to a certain extent, and I can do that by being kind to people around me, by helping people in my life, within my ability. I don't have to bring world peace for me to do that as a purpose in life. So I think there are different pathways you can achieve your purpose in life. Like, it could be a different version now. And aligning our career with that is quite important because again, we spend so much time in our life working, and so when we can have that alignment, as we established before, it's important for our well-being. But then when when you think about the different aspects of purpose in life, right? We were saying it's not just about career. It could be about how you want to live your life, how you want to interact with other people, how you want to kind of nurture, build relationships, and how you see yourself in this world. I think it could be so much more. And so how can we actually integrate that purpose in life into our career? Because I think that there needs to be this understanding of mapping the different areas in life that will overlap, right? For example, what I mean by that is if I'm saying, I want to see the world, my purpose is to travel and make memories everywhere. And that probably will mean I need to have a career path that will bring me places. Because if I have a job that is kind of like, you have to be here to do the job at all times, that's not so much in alignment with my purpose in life, right? And yeah, it's kind of tricky though, because how do we find out? How can we integrate that into our career? It's quite tricky when you think about the limitation of different areas of jobs. And I know that we shouldn't have limiting beliefs, right? So that's why we're finding solutions. So how would you say we can go about doing that?
So I think aligning purpose with career is a form of self-actualization. So which not many people have the privilege to do so. So I don't think that if someone are trying to fulfill their daily needs, serve their family, is something that is not good. It's very good enough for that person if his or her purpose is to serve people, to serve their family. I think it's good enough already. But the problem is sometimes we try to fit other people or society standards to someone who don't think that it was their purpose to achieve. So when we are already discover our purpose and we are gonna try to align them, we have to know what the work or the career that we want to pursue, what kind of impact that we want to make in the field. For example, if you want to have a career in the field of, we can say like food and beverage or maybe entertainment world, what is the purpose of being in that industry, in certain industry? What kind of role it will serve, and how can we make our purpose relevant with what kind of work that we did? So when we know what kind of purpose that the work or the role serve, we can look into our purpose. Does it align with what I want to do? Sometimes we just do because like it pays, right? A lot of people, and it's not something that's wrong because like we have to survive, right? And I think that when we are going to align our purpose in life without also thinking our responsibility, it makes that our life is in imbalance because we are going to survive also maybe financially, but we want to also do something that we love, like maybe something that not pay as much as our job used to be. A lot of people also struggle with that, and believe me or not, I also been in that positions. So I think to find like the alignment of everything, the job or the career that pays well, and then it serves our purpose, and then the world needs that. Yeah, you can call it ikigai. Yeah, that's a very famous famous framework from Japanese, which when we could find the joy in the smallest thing in life, and we can like optimize every opportunity from what we like and when the world needs and where does it pay, right? So I think by finding this alignment with ikigai is a very long journey. It's not something that we can like achieve in several months or maybe several. It could take like 10, 12, 5, 15, even 20 years to get there.
Yeah.
Because we discover ourselves like every single day. we discover that we are respond like this. We discover that how can we manage or regulate our emotions. We discover every time in every single thing that we did. So I think aligning our purpose could be started with knowing ourselves. We have to know first what kind of things that we want to do, especially in life. For example, what kind of problems that we want to solve, or what kind of change that we want to see, not only in the society, but in ourselves. What kind of person that we want to be.
Yeah.
So starting from that, I think it's a very good start if we know ourselves very deeply and we knew every aspects of it. And then the second one, if you want to try to align our purpose, we have to do a lot of research. What kind of thing that the world needs right now? Is what I'm doing will help other people's? Or if we want to align our purpose with something that's very versatile, it's okay too. But we have to know what kind of thing that I need and other also people need, right? And then the third one is to find out what things that we enjoy and make us feel energized. So for example, it makes me energized when I'm writing, when I'm talking with people, when I'm cooking, when I'm counting money, for example. So I think it's very different from someone. It's very important for them to discover what they like or feel energized to do. And then the third one is after finding that, we knew that we have to look for what kind of job or professions that might be related to that purpose or might be related to our talents and abilities. So that's how we find a job that actually might serve our purpose.
Yeah, I think there are multiple ways to go about it, right? Because there are different ways that you can discover yourself, especially in today's society. We have, you know, different, I would say, communities of people who would help you to discover yourself. You know, there are different sort of coaches or trainers or, you know, like career counselors like yourself who can help people to discover what it is that they would like to do. But I think it's a lot of like theoretical things that, you know, our audience might not be able to relate to. So if we were to be a little bit more practical, let's talk about practice and go into this practice section. You mentioned, you know, a few things that people can do, but in reality, it gets overwhelming when people think about, okay, I have to align my career with my purpose in life. That sounds overwhelming. So to our audience who probably will find it overwhelming, what is one practice that you would recommend so that they can start to align their career with their purpose in life? And of course, aligning career with purpose in life is not something to do overnight. So perhaps, you know, just baby step. What could be the first step that they take maybe?
So I talk about on how can we do some kind of explorations in ourselves to look inward our potentials. The first is we can do some kind of exploration by joining a lot of many activities in our communities, in our societies, in work, or even in schools, right? By discovering that, we knew that what we can do, what makes us feel energized, what actually makes us feel more exhausted, like that. And then the second one, we could also try to dive into our self by doing some kind of like talents mapping for ourselves. This kind of talents mapping usually happens when we are going to recruit people in to an organizations or to a company. But we can do it individually by mapping all of our strengths or the thing that we are good at or we can do good at more better than other people around us, and then the things that we cannot do as good as other people, or the thing that might be we cannot enjoy as much as others. And then we have to list down all of the traits that we actually like about ourselves and how that traits help us to interact with other people's or surround us, or maybe at work or schools. And then the fourth one, maybe we can also list some kind of challenges that we face to control or to regulate some traits that might be disturb our performance on how we make other people make me feel maybe feel uncomfortable. So by doing that, it helps us to know what kind of things that could be serve as purpose for us, and then we can do some research on how the workplace and then the work landscape, what they did, and then how we get there, what kind of abilities that they need or they are looking to for certain professions or for certain jobs. It could be helps a lot because I actually give these tips for some of my clients when they are struggling in finding a career that match with themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really great thing to start with, because what I have found, especially on this podcast, when we talk about different aspects of well-being, one key theme sort of emerged to me where, we don't necessarily know ourselves as well as we think we do. And that impacts a lot of aspects in life, including our career, right? Because we just, we go ahead with the knowledge that we have about ourselves, and it not necessarily is a self-understanding. It's probably sometimes even influenced by the opinions of people around you, your family, your upbringing, and you kind of think, okay, well, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. But maybe years later down the track, you realize, wait, hang on a minute. That wasn't really what I wanted to do. I just thought I wanted to do that because I heard all this information, and now we even have social media.
Yes.
And so you look at different things, you're like, oh, that's what I want to do because that is cool and that's what everyone's doing. But what if it's not what you enjoy, And so, yeah, I think that's definitely a really good practice. And thank you for sharing your insight today on the topic of aligning our career with our purpose. It is a very big topic and it's not easy. There's no formula for all of us. I think there are just certain things that we can all be aware of and start doing. For example, getting to know ourselves better so we can actually find that alignment slowly. I don't think it's going to happen, overnight or even in a month or even in a year. Sometimes it takes years. And, I know that a lot of people even do career swap, midway through life, for example, which is super fascinating and
Yes.
quite normal.
Mhm.
So, it's okay to take our time. And I think that's the beauty of life. So now that we have covered everything on this topic, we would love to invite you to talk about something that you're passionate about. And you already mentioned at the very beginning that you want to talk about work-life integration. It is a very popular topic nowadays. So I'm curious what you would like to talk about particularly.
Okay, so the first time I heard the term of work-life integration is it was like 5 years ago, back in days when I worked in an edtech startup. And the first time I heard it from my ex-boss, and he said that he want to build a work-life integration for his life because he think that to separate and to make life as such like work-life balance, it's almost impossible in today's life. When at that time I could not understand what does that mean until now, and several years ago I tried to practice what kind of things that called such work-life integrations. So basically, we could not make life like a pizza. We cannot like divide them equally every single time during our period of life. In some period of our life, we could give like 20% to work and then like 80% to family, and we don't have any more time for maybe our personal or health because like maybe we are busy with our family. And at one moment, maybe we can like give like 70% for our careers and work, and we can give like 30% for our family. So basically, life is not like a pizza that you can divide equally. It's something that was very personalized. So when we are trying to apply it or implement work-life integration in our life, it means that we want to integrate of all aspects of our life, just as life. It could not all, this is my work life, this is my family life, it's not a pizza, basically. So I think life is just life. Life contains from work, include work, family, friendships, relationship, health, and then spirituality, and then finance. So all of that aspects in life, it was just contains as life. So work-life integrations, implementations happens when we can integrate all of this aspect in life, not only by work-life integration, it doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries, right? So it means like we integrate that all aspects of life, which means the life that happens outside the work, it's not a different life. It's just a same life, but we just like doing it. We just like doing different activities. So when we are doing our work, it also made us realize that we are living. We are also living when we are working. We are also living when we are going out with our families. We are also living when we are spending time with our friends and our partners. So I think work-life integrations means that we knew that everything we do at work is also to serve our purpose in life. So that is why I think work-life integrations is a very unique concept, because it might suitable for some people who don't think that life should not be treated like pizzas. So yeah, that's a very interesting, but actually take everything with grains of salt, and you do you actually. Actually, if you think that the work-life balance concept is more suitable for your life, I think that's totally fine, because everyone has their own preference and their own lifestyles and their own, they're basically their own life. So I think that's not a wrong thing when we choose or have some kind of preference towards something that might be not popular this day, as long as that serve your purpose. I think that is a very healthy well-being for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, and for being open to different ideas that people can relate with. I think that fluidity is important, because it's not something that is static, and again, it's not one size fits all. So whatever works for different
Yes.
people. Now, I'm really glad that we finally made this happen, after everything that,
I'm
we
very
went
happy
through last
too.
time. So, yeah, thank you so much for being here today. And for our
Thank you
audience who
also.
would like to find out more about your work or reach out to you, where can they go?
So maybe you can reach me out on my LinkedIn. You can just type Ananda Zhafira, and you can also reach me out on my Instagram. Just follow me at Nanda Zha.
Amazing.
So I think that's all how we can connect.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. And
Thank you too.
I think after today, I will do a bit more self-discovery once more. It's like a continual process, especially because we change all the time. There might be a new purpose that I'll discover. So thank you for sharing that little practice. I think it's super helpful. You have been listening to Doing Well, the Wellbeing Science Insights Podcast, produced by the Wellbeing Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes are available from 10 life management perspectives and can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and other podcasting apps available on your devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, share, and subscribe to our channel so that other people can find it and we can continue to provide quality content. More of our work can be found on our website, we.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Lu Ngo. Thanks for tuning in.